Good day everybody. This is Angel, your lady luck. Welcome to Reasons Now Told, an audio blog by Ray. The Hunting of RBS Gamefowl Technology. This is brought to you by Warhawk Feeds, the power to win. And also by Advanced Gamefowl Academy. Ah yes, now we are lucky. What the masters failed to tell us, science can now explain. Listen to today's lesson, Chicken Talk. Always try to understand the reasons why, not just the how. Without understanding, breeding is not breeding. It is just mating. So what are you waiting for? Come now. Be a real breeder. Enroll now with Advanced Gamefowl Academy and study practical science of the gamefowl. Study at your own time, pace and place. Learn to breed the gamefowl you want. And now here is your host.
In gamefowl breeding, all practices and systems might be both good and bad, depending on the situation. If carried to extreme, any of them can be counterproductive. If done moderately and wisely, all of them may be effective. Observe moderation. Keep your program simple. Bear in mind, however, that in breeding there are no fail-proof formula. There never will be. Breeding the gamefowl is full of possibilities, many of which unexpected. That no matter how hard we try, success is never a foregone conclusion. What makes one a successful gamefowl breeder? By breeder, we mean the harder definition of the word breeder. Not the simple definition that a breeder is just anybody who produces more animals of the same kind. Generally speaking, anyone who breeds the gamefowl is a gamefowl breeder. However, not all gamefowl breeders are the same. Gamefowl breeders can be classified by purpose. There are the commercial breeders, those who sell their produce. Then there are the hobbyists, those who pursue breeding for a leisure and activity. And there are those who breed for their own use. They are cocker breeders. Breeders can also be categorized by scale of operation. There are small, medium, and big-scale breeders. Usually they are grouped by the number of heads they produce. Likewise, gamefowl breeders can also be ranked according to the prices their roosters command. There are small and big-time breeders. Regardless of the purpose, scale and status, there are two main types of gamefowl breeders: the replicator and the originator. In one class are the replicators. To this group belong most gamefowl breeders. They buy breeding materials from famous breeders and propagate these bloodlines. They enjoy bragging rights for owning and breeding these expensive chickens from famous breeders, mostly Americans. They are not concerned with the direction and objectives of their matings. They simply propagate famous bloodlines. They love breed names such as 20 Grand Kelso, $5K Sweater, Mel Sims, Bruce Barnett's, Dink Fairs, and other high-priced and prominent names of bloodlines. They collect one famous bloodline after another, and make out some crosses between them and expect instant nicks. If they fail, no big deal. They acquire other equally renowned names of bloodlines. In the second type are the creators. They are few determined professionals or keen hobbyists who create their own bloodlines out of existing ones. They don't simply replicate. They build their own and call it their own. Again, regardless of purpose, scale and standing of their operations, the creators breed toward well-defined goals. Every mating is designed to achieve these goals. Creators aspire to stand out not based on scale or prominence, but by creating something they could really call their own. Originators, as creators are more commonly called in gamefowl breeding parlance, set realistic goals beforehand, and then acquire the materials that will help realize these goals. They don't covet bragging rights to illustrious names of bloodlines. They call their bloodlines by a new name. When selling, they don't ride on famous breeders' reputation. They rather sell their chickens as their own. Name does not make a bloodline. Calling a chicken by a new name is easy. Creating a real bloodline is the hard part. Some people call a flock of chickens by a new name without setting a new bloodline. Sometimes the flock is just a family of an existing bloodline, or at times it is even just a cross. In originating a bloodline, process is involved and must be observed. Now, to which type would you like to belong? Creator or replicator? Will you be a breeder? Or just a producer and raiser of gamecocks? If you prefer to be the latter, then just mate winners over a period of time. And you may produce winners. Modder. My friend Ben Dimano, a true gamefowl breeder, had another way of saying it. Ben had a very straightforward definition of a breeder. According to him, a breeder is one who understands genetics, has specific goals in his breeding program, and approaches the goals systematically, and can produce true-to-type individuals in his flock according to his goals. In short, he knows what he is doing. I told him, if that's the case, only a few would qualify to be called a breeder. What will it make the great majority of the members of the so-called GBAs? Well, Ben answered, they are modders. They just mate gamefowl hoping to get a nick, or to duplicate the fowl of the person they got their materials from. Ben qualified. Some call them propagators. I call them replicators. Ben calls them modders. Okay, the fact is that if we breed the gamefowl, it's true we need fundamental knowledge in genetics. However, we don't need it if we are into breeding just for the gambling aspect of cockfighting, or for the bragging rights of being called a breeder. We just buy expensive materials from known breeders and propagate them. There are many rich kids doing this. What we need fundamental knowledge in genetics for is to enjoy and get satisfaction from what we are doing. We cannot enjoy doing something we are ignorant of. Basic knowledge will enable us to set genetic objectives. Then, we can determine whether we had succeeded or failed with regards to our genetic objectives. Such objectives could be simple, like producing chickens with straight comb, or complex, like combining different fighting traits to produce roosters with power, speed, flight, and shuffle. Without essential knowledge, or if we are ignorant of genetics, we will not know how to start toward our goal. We will not even be able to formulate genetic objectives. Genetics, the science that governs reproduction of genes, is a complicated study on how genes are passed on from one generation to the next. The complexity of genetics is one reason why gamefowl breeding is not a simple matter. Because of the complexity of genetics, no breeder, regardless of ability and resources, can be certain of the outcome of a mating. Because of this, breeding is regarded as the highest form of involvement in the chicken sport. According to Ben, this is partly the reason why GBAs prosper. Because everybody wants to be called breeder. Yes, it is not easy to become a successful breeder. But this should not discourage us from taking up the challenge, and perhaps the satisfaction in creating bloodlines of our own name and liking. Genetics is important. But it doesn't mean we have to earn a master or doctorate in genetics in order to be able to breed the gamefowl. Basic knowledge in genetics and a lot of common sense would be enough. Basic knowledge and common sense are enough to set one up as a practical breeder. Now, our parting advice. If you prefer to be a modder, and will not bother about genetics or elaborate breeding techniques, Here are a few simple ideas you may adopt. Upgrade. Do not just infuse. The difference between upgrading and infusion is that, in a series of upgrading, the old bloodline will eventually be phased out, while in infusion the object is to restore the old bloodline with a little change in the genetic composition. Infusion is time-consuming with little change in our flock, while upgrading is faster and more practical way of improving our flock. Also avoid the pitfalls of inbreeding. Always crossbreed. Another way is to find an idol, and source your materials from him, and ask him how to breed them. Do not venture on your own mating decisions. This is called flock sourcing. The most direct way of all is to simply mate a winning line to another winning line. Do this over several years without inbreeding, and it will eventually pay off. Winners are winners. There are reasons why they are winners. No need to find out what are these reasons, nor fathom why they are winners. Leave the finding out to professionals. They have time to waste and the mindset to do so. As for you, just breed winners over winners, and chances are you will have some winners. Again, this will not make you a breeder, based on the harder definition of the word. Yet, you may end up a winner. After all, to many, it's all that counts. That is if winning is your only bottom line. But, of course, real breeders will not buy this idea. To real breeders, creating, improving and propagating gamefowl of their own is what really counts. To real breeders, just winning is not everything. Winning with your own creation is.